every sign's strongest hours today, and the one stretch that suits steady, routine work rather than fresh starts are coming up in this reading. Good day to you. Readings follow the tropical Western sun sign, so know your sun sign before we begin. The moon is a waxing crescent in Virgo, keeping the day practical and detail-minded. Watch for a quiet pause from 3:23 in the afternoon on Thursday to 10:19 in the morning, New York time, when plans are best left settling rather than launched. Readings today are from your sun sign. The link below finds yours in 10 seconds. The sun still sits in Leo, entering Virgo in 7 days, a shift worth noting as it nears. 4 exact aspects shape today. Moon square Mars at 3:36 in the afternoon, Moon trine Pluto at 5:13 in the evening, Moon opposite Neptune at 5:32 in the evening, and Moon trine Uranus at 8:04 in the evening. Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto all move retrograde now, favoring review over rushing. Let's walk through what this means for your sign. Aries, courage reaches you before caution does today. And that instinct is exactly what carries you through. Yesterday's moon moved through your house of daily work and routine. So if today feels heads down and task by task, the tracks, Saturn sits in your own sign now, retrograde and weaken, and as this period's lord, it asks you for steadier effort over speed. For your work and money today, that means one task followed through calmly will carry you further than 3 started in a rush. Aries, the moon moves into your 7th house of partnership at 10:19 in the morning. And from there, your day leans toward other people and what they need from you. Later, the moon's exact opposition to Neptune at 5:32 in the evening can blur feeling and fact a touch. So keep things simple and let plans wait for a clearer head. Your ruling planet Mars gives you real fire, the kind that moves first and thinks along the way. And today, that's best spent as follow through, not a sudden burst. Pick one physical task and finish it well. That steady, quiet courage is the thread through all of it today, Aries. Whether you're finishing a task alone or sitting across from someone who needs your ear, let your seva be this. When someone speaks to you, give them your full, unhurried attention and nothing else. Go easy on yourself today. The stars are patient and you can be too. Taurus, Venus builds nothing in a hurry, and today that patience is exactly what steadies you. Yesterday's tender, creative mood eases now. Since the moon has been sitting in your 5th house of romance and self-expression, and that soft, playful energy has had its moment to breathe. Let's talk about where you stand now. At work, the Sun, Mercury and Jupiter are still gathered in your 4th house, keeping attention on home and roots. So a work call or errand may pull you back toward family matters. Let it. Since Venus, your own ruling planet, sits comfortably in your 6th house of daily work, helping steady tasks and routines feel manageable rather than heavy. In relationships, Saturn is turning inward in your 12th house, the house of rest and letting go. Weakened in Aries just now, so if an old worry resurfaces, treat it gently rather than as something to solve today. Taurus, that same steadiness is what people lean on. For energy, notice the shift later this morning as feelings move from creative and personal toward more practical ground. So ease into errands rather than forcing them. When you spot someone carrying more than they can manage today, taking even part of that weight off their hands. No fuss, no reward expected, is exactly the kind of care your sign does best. Wishing you a calm and steady day ahead. Gemini, with Sun, Mercury, and Jupiter all gathered in Leo, your third house of communication and short journeys is lit up today. Yesterday, the moon sat quietly in your house 4, home and family, and you likely felt a softer, more inward pull. Today shifts outward. Conversations and quick plans favor you, and since Mercury rules you, curiosity is simply how you're built. Connection costs you nothing. Say what needs saying, and something warmer arrives by evening to match it. On matters of the heart, the moon holds house 4 until 10, 19 in the morning, then enters your house 5, romance and creative joy, right where Venus already sits in her own sign. Let that window favor a small gesture towards someone you love. Saturn sits retrograde and weakened in Aries today, so give long-term plans patience rather than push. The lift lands at 8:04 in the evening when the moon forms a flowing trine to Uranus, exact and bright, turning that warmth into something genuinely uplifting. Gemini, the quiet morning you began with, opens into something wide and alive by night. Before you go, think of someone who's been quiet or alone lately and give them a call or your company for a while. Nothing needed back. And Gemini, for the fuller picture behind today's sky, your complete birth chart is waiting, free, on our website. Let today be simple. That is enough. Cancer, the sky asks you to trade motion for feeling today, and that shift favors you more than you'd expect. Yesterday's bright, talkative energy carried you through conversations and quick errands, and that lighter mood is still settling as the day opens. Around mid-morning, the moon eases out of that chatty, sibling and errands mood and drifts toward home ground, and you likely feel yourself wanting fewer places to be and more people to sit still with. On money and work, Saturn sits retrograde and weakened in Aries, in your house of career and standing. So this isn't the day to force a big professional move. Let steady, unglamorous effort do the talking instead. In relationships, early afternoon brings the moon squaring Mars at 3:36 in the afternoon, which can make a conversation feel sharper than intended. So soften your pace rather than your honesty, Cancer, and it passes cleanly. Your moon rulership is exactly why you sense these shifts in others before they say a word. Real strength, not a small thing. For energy, let the day's back half be gentler than its front half. Since your ruling moon is heading toward calmer waters by evening, as that settling arrives, offer your seat, your place in line, or a little of your unhurried time to someone who clearly needs it more today, simply because you can. May something small go beautifully right for you today. Leo, this is your day to simply be seen and trust what people already see in you. Yesterday, the moon opened in your house of money and what you value, and that quiet stock taking likely stayed with you into today. Right now, the Sun, Mercury, and Jupiter are gathered together in Leo, your own first house, so your presence carries a natural warmth. People feel welcomed by you before you even spoken. Leo, that's not something you have to manufacture. It comes from Sun ruling your sign directly. On money and work, the moon is still sitting in your house of positions and values. So today favors a plain look at what actually matters to you before the moon shifts into your third house at 10:19 in the morning. When conversations and quick exchanges pick up pace, a good window for the calls and messages you've been putting off. In relationships, Saturn as today's period, Lord sits retrograde and debilitated in Aries in your ninth house. So, a mentor or a bigger picture conversation may feel a touch slow or unsettled, and patience with it serves you better than pushing. Your energy stays steady and centered, held by that first house glow around you. Let the day close with you teaching someone something they've been struggling with, walking them through it patiently without needing anything back. Carry this lightly and have a truly good day. Virgo, this is a day when your own sign holds the moon, sharpening the instinct and precision that are part of who you are before it eases into the sign next door this morning. Yesterday's inward turn settled something, and today's focus turns outward toward what you earn and what you're building. On the work and money front, the moon stays in your first house of self and presence through the morning, then moves at 10:19 in the morning into the sign where Venus sits comfortably in her own strength. So this is a fine window to state your value plainly rather than let your usual quiet effort go unnoticed. Saturn, today's period lord, sits weakened and turned inward in Aries, a gentle reminder to pace any big commitments rather than push them through. In relationships, that same Mercury ruled precision and quiet care that are yours, Virgo, serve you well. Listen closely rather than correcting, and let care show through action instead of critique. For energy, Mars moves through Cancer in a tender, less certain state, so choose rest that restores you over pushing through. That's Virgo today. Quiet precision, doing steady, careful work, both inward and out in the world. Before you close it out, pass along something useful sitting unused in your hands, whether a book, a tool, or a skill, to someone who could use it, asking nothing back. The day is yours to shape. Shape it kindly. Libra, today ask you to trust the quiet knowing that settles once the noise clears. Yesterday the moon lingered in your 12th house, the place of rest and retreat, so it makes sense if you felt more inward than usual. That shifts at 10:19 in the morning, when the moon moves into your first house, the house of self, and you'll feel the room turn back toward you, ready to be seen again. You're ruled by Venus, and with Venus at home in your own sign of Libra, you find the balance point in almost any room, a real steadiness others notice and lean on. In work and money, Saturn sits retrograde and debilitated in Aries in your 7th house of partnership. So a shared decision may move slower than you'd like. Let it take its own pace today. Libra, a square between the moon and Mars arrives at 3:36 in the afternoon. A quick flash of friction that eases fast if you simply name what you need. In your energy, the evening turns gentle and expansive as the moon trines Uranus at 8:04 in the evening, a fresh and easy lift after a full day. That steadiness is simply who you are today. Before it closes, take a moment to say the encouraging word you've been meaning to say, without being asked, because it deserves saying. Move through today at your own pace. It is the right one. Scorpio, today asks you to turn your wide circle of friends and gains into something concrete before the moon eases into quieter territory this morning. Yesterday's energy came from that same wide circle, Friends and gains lighting up your day, and today is about making it count. Your career house holds real strength now, with the sun shining there in its own sign. So, a conversation about money or recognition can move forward with quiet confidence. Look past the surface before you commit. Venus rests comfortably in its own sign in the quiet 12th house from you, favoring closeness built in private over anything performed in public. So, a real conversation with someone close matters more than a grand gesture. Scorpio, your ruling planet Mars is having a quieter moment in your ninth house of belief and travel, while Saturn moves slow and turned inward in your sixth house, asking for patience with routines and health rather than urgency. You go deep where others skim, and your resilience is easy to underestimate, exactly what will carry you through this stretch. As the moon moves into that quieter house this morning, let today's outward connections give way to something more personal. The same circle from yesterday, now turning inward. In that quiet, find one small chore that was never yours to do and take care of it without needing anyone to know. May the day meet you kindly and leave you a little lighter. Sagittarius, today the sky eases you out of the spotlight and toward your circle, turning career effort into shared connection. Yesterday, the moon opened in your house of career and public standing. So if you're still carrying that visibility, it makes sense. The moon sits there this morning. Then at 10:19 in the morning, it moves into your 11th house and the day follows it toward people rather than performance. The Sun, Mercury and Jupiter gather in Leo in your ninth house of vision and travel. And since Jupiter is your own ruling planet, that gathering hands your natural optimism, real momentum. Sagittarius, exactly the honest search you trust more than simply arriving at work. Let a bigger conversation or a stretch of learning outrank closing small loops. Saturn, today's period lord, sits retrograde and debilitated in Aries. So treat any needed second pass as refinement, not setback. Venus, settled in Libra in that same 11th house, adds an easy warmth once the moon arrives. Good timing to reach toward your circle. Mars, debilitated in Cancer in your 8th house, is a fair nudge to pace your energy rather than pour it all out for others. The day settles from public standing into shared company, a good place to land. Quietly thank someone whose work usually goes unnoticed, offered simply because it's true, nothing asked in return. Whatever today asks of you, you have met harder days than this. Capricorn, today favors the quiet compounding you are already good at, more than any single bold move. Yesterday's quiet turn inward around belief and the bigger picture is likely still settling in you. The Sun, Mercury and Jupiter are gathered in Leo in your house of shared resources and transformation, house 8, supporting anything involving joint money or shared debts. This is a good window for you to raise a shared cause conversation plainly. Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, you play the long game by nature, not by discipline. So let today's steadiness lay one solid brick rather than chase a quick win. The moon has been moving through your ninth house of belief, learning and long journeys, and moves onward at 10:19 in the morning, as Venus sits at home in Libra just ahead of it. That shift can turn a private conversation with someone close into something you're both ready to share more openly. Mars is moving through Cancer, a sign where it doesn't feel fully at home, so your energy may run a touch more sensitive than usual today. Meeting that with rest instead of force will serve you well. This is a day for steady hands, not sudden ones, exactly the pace you already trust. Capricorn, let that patience show by visiting or sitting a while with someone who isn't feeling well today, letting them set the pace without expecting anything back. Let today be useful rather than perfect. Aquarius, today favors teaming up over going it alone. The last stretch, with shared resources and deep change filling your attention, may have felt heavy, and that eases now. A cluster of planets sits together in Leo, lighting up your seventh house of partnership. And for you, that means today's best moves are made alongside someone else, not alone. If money or work decisions are on the table, bring in a partner before you finalize anything. Aquarius, as the sign Saturn rules, you naturally think from an angle nobody else tried, and with Saturn weakened and retrograde in Aries, in your third house of communication, that original idea may need a slower telling before it lands. Venus sits comfortably at home in Libra in your ninth house of vision, and by mid-morning, the moon joins that territory, turning talk toward what's true for you. Later today, at 5:13 in the evening, the moon forms its exact trine to Pluto, and an honest exchange can go deeper than you expect. Keep your pace gentle today, since Mars sits weakened in Cancer in your sixth house of daily effort, and let rest count as progress. Together is the thread running through this whole day for you. Let that spirit carry further. Share a meal or a plate of food with someone who's hungry today. No reason needed beyond the good of doing it. Walk gently today and let the day come to you. Pisces, today rewards steady effort over urgency. Yesterday's gentle, industrious partnership energy has settled into sharper focus now. In your work and money, Leo holds a bright cluster of light this morning, the sun in its own sign, alongside two companions, all gathered in house 6, your everyday work. For you, that means small, consistent tasks carry more weight than any grand gesture today. In your relationships, the moon moves through Virgo in house 7, the house of partnership, keeping today's exchanges practical and grounded before drifting into quieter, more shared territory as the day goes on. Pisces, let that practical honesty do the work, saying the useful thing rather than the perfect one. Venus, glowing in her own sign nearby, lends a soft warmth to whatever you share. As for your energy, Saturn, guiding this stretch of time, moves backward through Aries in an unfamiliar, weakened state, so patience will carry you further than pushing against resistance. Compassion moves you before analysis ever gets a chance. Jupiter's own gift to you, and your imagination finds paths reasoning alone would miss. Trust it today. Let that same tenderness step outside yourself before the day ends. Leave out water or a little food for a stray animal or the birds nearby, offered simply because it's needed, nothing asked in return. May today bring you one moment worth remembering. As you step back into your day, may you carry a little more calm than you woke up with, patience for the small things, warmth for the people around you, and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your own strengths. Whatever sign carries you through the week, whatever chart you were born under, and whatever today asks of you, may it treat you gently and leave you a little lighter by evening. Which sign are you? Tell us in the comments. If today's sky was useful, subscribing keeps it coming every morning.